Well, I was born in 1906. 1926, I graduated from the high school. I still have my diplomas, and Lawrence Bushman took it over there Sunday, and the schools, I think there's 5 different classes there, and he showed them that, showed them what I got, you know, and it really made, on good paper at that time. And then in 1996, in February, I had a birthday party, and it's free for everybody. We advertised it, and we had about 200 there. And the press from Jeff City come, and they took my picture and meal plan, and then it went out all over the United States. And some of them had my picture on it, and some of them had it. And I was playing in several different states. But what I wanted, that I got a kick out of, I was playing in Las Vegas. And the fellow from Freeburg, named Will Smart, he said he was cooling his pocketbook, trying to win a little money. And he picked up the paper, and there he said, Tom Coffey. He told me Freeburg, well, that's only just 10 miles from Vienna, so we know everybody. And I think there's about 35, I got 35 write-ups that they cut out and sent them to me. I mean, and it really went over big.
What do you got planned for next year?
I don't know if I doubt if I'm going to have it. And I always say that put it in the paper, no presents. I got one from here. Once in a while there'll be somebody. But I got several from my relation. And one of them is this teddy bear. I never dreamed of ever getting a teddy bear. But a teddy bear is famous, and it's coming back now. And Teddy Roosevelt, the teddy bear is named after Teddy Roosevelt. And Teddy Roosevelt was president when I was born. Huh. And I thought I'd done pretty good. I lived under about 20 different presidents, and some of them had, like Roosevelt, you know, during the war, he's had maybe 3 terms, you know, and I didn't count him. And now I'm waiting now. I hope I can make it to November and see who's the next president. And then Dr. Dudenhofer, he'll be here in a few minutes to check me. And he says, he can't believe it. He says I'm in pretty good shape. And I said, I'd like to live to the 21st century. And he said, well, I don't see why. He can't make it, so he's doing all he can. I hope I can make it. And then I've been working on the saving everything for about 17 years, and I'm going to put it in a box and put it in a bank. And we celebrated the 100th year here in 1955. In 2005, we're going to celebrate the sesquicentennial, 150th year, and I'm saving up stuff to put in there so they'll have something to sell. And then if I make it then, I'll be 99.
Louis Wenzel was 99.
Huh?
Louis Wenzel was 99.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's some things that I'm really in good shape with my arms, and I take exercise every day. It takes me about an hour or something like that. And
tell me about when you started the old jail.
huh?
Tell me about when you started the old jail.
Oh yeah. Well, we didn't have much time. Somebody said it's 100th year, and so boy, we started to work on it, and we had a meeting, and we set the date, and Paul Hornback, he was helping Madeline Baldwin, a lot of people was helping, and they were bringing in antiques, and we didn't have no place to put them, and Paul says, we ought to buy the old jail, but nobody can buy it. Oh, I said, I can buy it. Go get it, he said. Well, it belonged to my sister. It was Lenny Coffey. She married Jesse Snodgrass. So I went and bought it. Well, how was he going to pay for it? Well, we got 8 people on the note. And Madeline wasn't paying what little we was doing, taking the money. She was paying on the note. And there was 8 of us on it. And we wasn't worrying about it till we got a letter from the bank and said that note you got is a static note. Static note. Well, I didn't know what it was, but it meant to pay it all. So we went around and checked with all 8 that would sign it, and the 4 of them wouldn't go along, and the 4 of us had to buy it.
So that was you?
Huh?
That was you and Madeline?
Yeah.
Paul Hornback?
Yeah, and Cecil Hutchinson.
Cecil Hutchinson.
And we still own it, and I tell you, I've got one day I counted about how many things I had over there. Madeline knows something about antiques. I didn't. I'd get something, somebody come and I'd buy it. I didn't know what I was buying, and I said, Madeline, what's this? Oh, that's a chocolate pot. It was really pretty, and then I got I had a pretty plate, and I didn't know what that was. So they said, that's Goofy Slice. So I got one of them over there. I counted, I got about 100 things over there. Some of them small. But I tell you, it didn't have to be the people bringing the stuff. And one thing that I thought was about the best thing they had over there, and is a piece of bone, and it's about 1 inch long and maybe 1.5 inches wide. And it fell in the Civil War, a soldier made a comb out of it. It might be still over there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I thought that was something. And if you ever want to visit the old jail, I'll guarantee you it's really, you got a lot of stuff over there. And
there's a picture of a Coffey over there from the Civil War.
Yeah.
John Campbell Coffey.
Yeah. Yeah. They say he was a bugler. And he's buried out here on the Bill Bushman Place. And then my grandmother, she passed away in 1900, and she's buried out here in the Vienna Cemetery.
What was her name?
Caroline. And it had a little stone there, and I had Martin to get a new stone, and they just left the old one in the back. I was really hating it. You couldn't read what's on there hardly, and that stone has been almost 100 years, you know.
Well, was her last name Coffey?
Huh? No, yeah, she married the Campbell Coffey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What was her maiden name?
Was She was the Eves.
Okay. Nope. Tell us about your mom and dad, too.
Well, this it said in the King's history had it that Margaret Coffey and relation, he married a Boone, and they come in down here between here and Argyle on Stony Point, and it was in 1834. They stayed there 4 years. I think there was a little village there, and they had 2 saloons and had a blacksmith shop and something like that. And one time, Toby Wheatberg said his dad, he lived there about that time, and he said one guy put on a sale whiskey, and it was a nickel a gallon. And when they left there, and then they went up on the Mares, and they homesteaded, and then Cameron Coffey, he growed up, and he homesteaded. Bill Bushman's on that place now, and that's where he's buried up there on the hill. It's all maybe 6 more graves. I guess it's the bunch that moved up the creek a little, but there ain't no stones, just some rocks. I'm going to have to put a fence around it, and it keeps us busy trying to keep it cut down.
How old is that Renicky school there?
Huh?
You know, the Renicky schoolhouse?
Yeah.
How old is that?
I don't know, it's been that good a while. I just don't remember.
Where did you go to school at?
I went here, the old schoolhouse up here by the water tower.
Here in Vienna?
Yeah. And I went there in about 1918. They built a new school down, now it's on 42 towards the Esconade River, about 2 miles. And I'd say we went there in about 1918 or 19. See, I graduated, I finished grade school there, and then I graduated in 1926.
Did you live here in Vienna then?
Yeah, I lived over, now it's the V Highway. They used to call, my folks had a farm about, well, it's out towards like on 42, but all a couple of miles, and then it went off to the left. And Dad, about all he said about it, in 1901 was a dry year, and all they raised is wheat, and that's when we come to town and bought this house. It's now on the V Highway.
What was Vienna like when you were a boy?
Well, it's something to come to town. They put every weekend it ought to be a fight, and if you had a nickel, you could buy a lot of candy for a nickel. And I used to like to buy it to Irvin Tackett. He was a big man, and he didn't weigh the candy. He just reached in, he had a big hand, and you get a handful. You'd get plenty. Cheap mix, they call it. And now, then they had little stores all around, maybe 2 saloons sometimes, and you couldn't go in when you was a kid. You could go in with your dad, and then I've seen a lot of changes now. I hate to see the swap shop goes out. Let's be one more place. And I sold the swap shop to Junior Crum, and he promised to stay here till the end, they said. And then now I'm getting out of the furniture business, and he's taking over the furniture. And the reason I'm trying to do that is I'm trying to save Vienna. And we got to do it with sales tax. And I'd say, like the city, the sales tax pays a lot more than half of the expenses. And the same way with the county. And if we let the sales tax go down, and I'd say that we're trying to save Vienna, and I've got a lot of help, and I don't think I can get out of business. I've got to stay in business from now on because I got to trust, and if I have quite a bit of money left, it's in the bank drawing the interest, and the interest, Crump told me, says, you got to spend the interest. If you didn't, you have to pay taxes on it. So whatever we got, if I got something left, well, that's where it's going, to help people out from now on.
Good. What do you remember about Albert McDaniel in the store?
Oh, yeah, I got something I want to tell about. Oh, yeah, see, Albert Mack was our own cousin. The McDaniels, Jenny McDaniel was sister to my mom, and there was the Evanses. And Mom's sister married Lynn McDaniel, and then Mom's folks was all passed away, and she come and stayed with her with her sister till her and my dad got married in 1986. And Frank McDaniel, he run the store, and he was my second cousin. And I don't know, I guess he was kind of disgusted with they was in the ice business, and they was butchering. And there's something I want to say. I used to help butcher, and I tell you, my dad helped Albert butcher, and he get a hog's head. And if you leave the jaws on it, that was really good. Well, you make head cheese, and a good hog's head is about the best eating I ever ate. And I was helping Albert one day down there, and a bunch of chickens was out there. And we was looking at them chickens. I think it was a Dominecker, an old hen. And she just fell over, all at once, died, just like that. And we operated on her, and he was butchering hogs. And her crow, I don't think you could have got one more hog hair in her crow. I'm going to try to find somebody who knows something about a chicken, and I'd like to know how it happened. I'm going to see Max Jobs. He may know something about a chicken. He knows about a cow and the horses and all that. He must have shut a window off or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
Yeah. If you live in a small town, I'm going to tell you, they're on their way out, and the people's got to get together and try to keep them going. Highgate, Missouri, was in, it's 5 miles. It's 5 years before Marys County. And it's over, it's between Bell and Rolla over there. It's in our county. And they had everything going. And it's a regular little town that didn't have to go nowhere because they had it. And they got to moving out. And the one family I found out later, the Hefties used to be there, had a blacksmith. And they moved to Vienna. And now there ain't not much over there now. And you got an old mill store. And that guy, he's still selling antiques 3 days a week. And he's a help. After a while, when he gets kind of caught up, he's going to help me finish my story.
Oh.
I've got about half done. And I'm not trying to make no money. I'm going the profit goes to the old jail and the historical society. And I guess that's about all I know, unless you can think of something else.
Well, we could talk about the canoe race on next Thursday.
Yeah, tell us about the canoe race.
We didn't have that on the tape, and you tell us before, about the canoe race when you started it.
Yeah. Well, when I was in the swap shop, one day Dickie Finn and Leon Finn come in and said, "Tom, if you'll help us, we'll start a canoe race." And I said, "Okay." So we started, and Dickie was working for John Deere that time, and he got John Deere to help us. And John Deere, he made a movie of it, and they really helped us. And we put on 4 of them, and and we averaged about 40 boats. They come from Kansas City, St. Louis, and everywhere. And when we got done, we had $500 left, so we give it to the fire department, and they're buying, I think it's a 73 truck, and they put that $500 on that. And Telly Wenzel was a school teacher, and she's one of the best around here to help. If anybody needed help, well, she's ready to go and help, and she get $500 too on the fire department. We need more Tellys around here. Yeah, that's I like to. I mentioned something about Frank McDaniel, and I might have said it on the tape, but I'd like to say it again. When he said he was I must have been disgusted that day, and he said it ought to be a law that everybody would have to be in business one time or another. And I'd go 100% for that. And there are lots of people think you get all this merchandise for nothing. And I tell you, if you want to find out all donations over, I tell you, there's a lot of overhead, and it eats it up. And that's what's happened to me now. I sell a piece of furniture. Say I think it cost me about $1,000 a month for my help, But I'd had $1,000 worth of furniture to pay my help, besides all the others. So that's the reason from 90 years old, I said it's time to get out of business. I'm trying to get out. In fact, anybody will help come and buy something.
You had some brothers in World War I, didn't you?
Yeah. There's 4 brothers. Out of this, only one is Sid Coffey. He's about 17 years older than I was. And he worked everywhere, and then he wound up in St. Louis and got married. And he's about 35 years old when he passed away. And And in 1918, Woodrow Wilson was I wasn't very old, I was about 12 years old, but I remember he said he's going to keep us out of war. He tried it, but he couldn't do it. And Earl Coffey, he was in France. He was in artillery, and he was a runner, and he stayed there, I think, about a year. And then Sherman, he was in the army, and he was out. He's going across. I wasn't lucky as he was. He got about a day out there, and the war was over, so they just turned around and come back.
Yeah.
And it wasn't long till he's back home.
That was Sherman?
Sherman. Yeah. And then in World War II, I thought I was too old, and Jess was 6 years older than me, and he wound up down here in Arkansas in the medics. And then they passed a law, if you was 38 years old, you could get out and come home. But if you was overseas like I was, you couldn't. You had to stay to get out. I probably had to stay a year longer. But my last job was working in a carpenter shop, and I was lucky. I bought a fiddle, and I bought a fiddle, and one day I took it up to the carpenter shop, and one of my friends in there said, "You want a case for that fiddle?" I said, "Yeah." Well, he walked over there in the bin. He looked at me like he got a tuba six or something like that. Right now, I've got that fiddle in here, and it didn't cost us nothing to ship stuff home. So, Jess said every day he was getting something from it. And I'd done a lot of. I was in Scotland, I was in Ireland, I was in Wales. I know there wasn't ever going back, so I tried to see. And there's a farm about a mile and a half out of Bury St. Edmunds, and there's folks by the name of Lawsons. I visited out there. And I'll tell you one thing about the English, there's a lot more saving. We waste more than they got over there. And man, him went out hunting, and he had a dog, and he thought he went had an old shotgun, and he put the safety on. And I said, "Well, you put that back." I said, I ain't wanting to get killed over here hunting. And he had a pea patch, and I just walking through there. I didn't pay no attention to them peas, you know. He said, "Look out there, you're knocking them peas out." And if they was hauling hay on a wagon and a little handful fell off, well, they'd stop and get there. And they was awful good to me. I ate there, and I enjoyed being in England and Scotland, and I was in both Irelands. I was down in around Belfast in that county. It's got six counties, and then down in the southern part, well, that's where they're fighting now. I wouldn't want to be over there, but they was talking about it when I was over there. They was going to try to get them counties back. And back in them times, when you go down there on the train, and there's a lot of stuff you buy, but you could never get it back in around Belfast back in there. They'd take it away from me. And some people I didn't have nothing much that they had to take back, but some of them just had it hid everywhere, you know. And And you would get there wasn't much money down in there. There was Hitler would never bomb them. See, they wasn't in the war, but the counties that England was in charge of it. Well, you better look out. You didn't know what was going to happen. And
back when you were a boy during World War I, what was it like in Vienna then?
oh, I tell you, they were strict. I mean, the people was, and they rationed everything. And Happy Curry, he went in the army, and then he come back on the furlough, and he was put on the bond drive to get him to. And then after the war's over, George Canster was found and getting money to put a monument up. It's in the, it's a soldier, and it's made out of bronze, ain't it? Yeah, it's still over there. Some Historical Society had it in my, had it at Harm Coffey helped build a base for that, but I didn't know it. I didn't remember him doing it, but that's what they had in there. And one of the main ones around the town then was Father Fugel, and he was into everything. I've got a. He lived at Brinktown, and then he moved here, and he bought a block machine, and they built the Catholic Church out of it. They built a home advisor, and they built a bank, and they built a parochial school out of the blocks they made. And in 1907, I've got a reproduction of all his papers he put out in 1907.
Yeah.
And it said that Harm Coffey and Ben Coffey, his brother, is building high sidewalks in Vienna in 1907. If you want to learn something that happened a long time ago, well, I'll put Vienna up against any of them that know it. Come in, do nothing. Watch this.